You know Star Trek? You've heard of it? It's a big franchise. Star Trek has been going on for almost 60 years, and there's so much of it. There's 11 shows. No, 12 shows. Forgot about short treks. It counts. There's 12 shows and 13 movies. Now 14 movies. It counts. It's the 14th of 13 Star Trek films, according to Memory Alpha. So, there it is, you know. Case closed. From the moment the first trailer dropped for Section 31, the writing was pretty much on the wall for this movie. There's a certain kind of fan who is never going to like it. They'll say this isn't Star Trek. There's no Starfleet. Star Trek can't do that. There's no room for that kind of thing in this franchise. It's a bridge too far. But Star Trek has a legacy paved with bridges too far and points of no return. And that's the reason it's still around. So for like 20 years, Star Trek meant something very specific. Kirk and Spock on the USS Enterprise, zipping through the cosmos. Then, Gene Roddenberry created Star Trek The Next Generation, and the fans were angry. No Kirk? No Spock? This isn't real Star Trek. You can call this the Enterprise, but it is not the Enterprise. I've seen the Enterprise, and this ain't it. Over-the-top fan backlash didn't start with Twitter. These people were writing letters. They hated it so much, they got the Postal Service involved. We all know how that one turned out. Next Gen is widely considered the gold standard of the franchise, and with good reason. So maybe this Next Generation thing is alright. But what's this new one? This one doesn't even pretend to have the Enterprise. They're on a space station? Look, if they're not going to a new planet every week, there's no show. This isn't a real Star Trek. There's not even a Trek. It's right there in the name. They're ruining it. Look, you get the idea. Every time a new series pushes the boundaries of Star Trek, there's an army of fans ready to protect those boundaries. And every time, there's a firm belief that this is the one. This time it's a bridge too far. So this video is not supposed to be a review of Section 31, but you should at least have the context of what I thought. So here's my official review of the Section 31 movie. It was pretty good. I enjoyed it. It had a lot of good characters and set pieces, but maybe didn't quite stick the landing. It sort of begs for comparisons to Guardians of the Galaxy, and that's just way too high a bar to set for what they were working with. Though I do adore the characters. This is the first Star Trek movie ever that had to introduce brand new main characters to us. I mean, Kelvin Star Trek technically has introductions for all the characters, but look, we all know who Sulu is. There's a Deltan and a shapeshifter, and one of the characters is Meet Dave. You know, that Eddie Murphy movie, Meet Dave? One of the characters is that movie, Meet Dave. Look, I respect that Section 31 kept things at a brisk 95 minutes, but this is probably the first movie in the last 10 years that I wanted to be longer. The second movie. I forgot about Bill and Ted. I want more time with these characters. Like, in a TV show. Yeah, one common thing I've heard as a complaint about this movie is that it feels like a TV pilot. And it definitely does, but is that really a bad thing? If you showed me Broken Bow and said it was a TV movie, I'd say, hell yeah, I love that movie. It was well known that Section 31 was planned to be a series, but they ended up doing a movie instead, and it shows. But this doesn't really hurt the movie at all. It's still a complete, satisfying story. The only downside is that we don't get to see the series. It was tough to categorize, but what I finally realized is, even with its A-list star, Section 31 is the first Star Trek B movie. B movies are, broadly speaking, that second tier of movies that don't have the big budgets of the major Hollywood films, but they make their money back quickly, and sometimes they become breakout hits. Every Trek movie before now sort of held the entire franchise on its back. There may have been a TV show running at the same time, but a big part of Star Trek's status as a franchise has ridden on the success of the movies. Movies are how the original series came back from the dead. It's widely believed that the breakout success of Star Trek IV is the reason The Next Generation was greenlit in the first place. And the Kelvin trilogy brought the franchise back and led to this new television revival. That's pretty high stakes for every one of these movies, so it's kind of refreshing to have a B-tier Star Trek movie to explore different kinds of ideas without having to commit to a series you might have to cancel. It famously doesn't go over well when a Star Trek show gets canceled. If you didn't like it, you didn't like it. I don't agree, but that's fine. We all have our own taste. My argument is just that it deserves to exist, and it marks what could be a very good trend for the future of Star Trek. This franchise has lasted over 50 years because it keeps growing and changing, and these lower stakes movies could be a really good way to test out some of these ideas. Okay, so imagine Eddie Murphy is a spaceship, and the captain is a little tiny Eddie Murphy. And that's the movie. Hold on, is Meet Dave a Star Trek movie?